I typed your name into three different apps last night just to see if the little green dot would still show up somewhere, just to see if some small part of you was still reachable, even if the biggest, most obvious door had already closed. It wasn't. You blocked me everywhere, completely, thoroughly, the kind of blocking that takes actual effort, that requires sitting down and going through every single platform one at a time, deciding deliberately that I no longer got to exist in any corner of your digital life. I want you to know that discovering that one app at a time at almost 2 in the morning was one of the loneliest experiences of my entire life. So I'm asking you now, in the only way I have left, can we talk? And underneath that question, the one I actually need answered: why did you block me? I know this message probably won't reach you the normal way. I know you've made it clear through the sheer completeness of what you um, did that you don't want to hear from me right now. Maybe not ever again. I'm recording this anyway, saying it out loud to an empty room because I think some part of me needs to say it whether or not you're ever the one who actually hears it. Maybe a mutual friend passes it along. Maybe you unblock me someday out of curiosity and stumble across it. Maybe it just lives here unheard, a message in a bottle thrown into water that already closed over your head a long time ago. I I have to say it anyway. I want start by telling you I understand why you might have done it, even though understanding doesn't make the silence hurt any less. I've replayed our last conversation more times than I can count, searching for the exact sentence, the exact tone, the exact moment where something in you finally decided that continuing to talk to me cost more than it was worth. I I think I found it actually somewhere around the fifth or sixth time I went looking. It wasn't one sentence. It was the accumulation of 100 smaller ones stretched across months, each one small enough that I convinced myself it didn't matter until apparently from where you were standing, it mattered enormously, cumulatively, in a way I was too careless to notice while it was actually happening. I think about the specific tone I used with you during that last stretch of conversations, the defensive one, the one that answered your concerns with justifications instead of actually hearing what you were trying to tell me. I remember you asking more than once whether I was even listening to you, and I remember getting frustrated by the question. Instead of taking it seriously, treating it like an accusation instead of the honest, vulnerable check in it actually was. I think that pattern repeated enough times eventually teaches a person that talking to you isn't worth the emotional labor. It requires that they'd rather have silence than another conversation that leaves them feeling unheard all over again. I won't tell you about the specific night. I think might have been the final one, the one that pushed you from frustrated to finished. We were talking about something that felt small to me at the time, some scheduling conflict, some minor disagreement about plans, and you tried to tell me something underneath the surface of that disagreement, something about feeling like your time and your feelings consistently mattered less to me than my own convenience. I remember getting defensive immediately, listing reasons, building a case for myself, instead of actually absorbing what you were trying to hand me. I remember you going quiet in a specific way I should have recognized as significant, a quiet that wasn't agreement, wasn't defeat, but something closer to a door quietly closing somewhere I couldn't see. I didn't follow up after that conversation the way I should have. I told myself it had resolved itself simply because the conversation ended without either of us raising our voices, without any dramatic conclusion that would have obviously signaled a problem still needing attention. I understand now how wrong that assumption was. Some of the most significant endings in a relationship don't announce themselves with volume, they announce themselves with exactly the kind of quiet I heard that night and chose not to investigate because investigating would have required me to sit in a discomfort I wasn't prepared to sit in at the time. I won't talk about the days that followed because I think they matter to understanding how we ended up here. You got quieter in general after that conversation, not dramatically, not in a way that would have triggered an obvious alarm if I had been paying closer attention, but steadily, incrementally, the way a tide pulls back before it eventually goes fully out. You took longer to respond to messages. Your responses got shorter, more functional, less like the warm, detailed conversations